Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Energize Your Online Business podcast. Hey there, Kate.
Hello, hello.
Hello. If this is the first episode you have ever heard, well, welcome. We're going to talk about how to hire copywriters and other freelancers. But if you've been listening to us for a while, you are likely following from the last episode in which we talked about when to hire a copywriter. So we are paying off our promise in that episode. And not now that you know when to hire a copywriter, you're going to find out how to hire a copywriter. And I want to start with a caveat that hiring freelancers feels confusing and feels overwhelming for everyone. Just so you know. And the thing is that no one is born knowing how to hire a freelancer. And I think especially when it's a freelance area that you are not adept at yourself, it can be hard to know even what to look for, not only just to go throughout the process. So we're going to make it easy for you right now, right here.
Yeah. You want to trust that you're going to find someone stellar and not cruddy, and we're going to help you do that.
Yes. The stellar and not cruddy.
No cruddy freelancers here. No Upwork, no Fiverr. Surprise.
Yes. Now, I said at the end of the previous episode, which if you haven't listened to it, definitely go back and give it a listen. But I said that, hiring a freelancer is not just about going out to your network and saying, hey, I need a copywriter. Does anyone have one? It is not just about that. However, that can be a good place to start. Certainly, reach out to your other entrepreneur friends, any other business contacts you have, quite frankly, just anybody and everybody, because you never know who knows a copywriter. That is a great place to start. However, that is not the place to end. And also, you want to make sure that just because someone's like, oh my gosh, yeah, here's my copywriter, totally work with them, they're great. They may be a great copywriter for your friend, but they might not be the right copywriter for you. So don't immediately get your heart set on a copywriter, and don't just reach out to your network. There are a couple other places you want to spread the net around to.
So some other places you might want to put out cast the net far and wide is on your social channels, LinkedIn, Instagram, if you use it, Facebook, whatever you're using. You never know who in your broader network might see these and might be able to connect you with a potential resource.
Your email list if you have one.
Job boards like Indeed and whatnot. And we will link to the episode that we did on how to not get cruddy people again through these job sites like LinkedIn as well, because you can post a job on LinkedIn, but the easy apply button, as we all know, makes it very easy for people to just hit easy apply 500 times and not actually read the job description. So you want to make sure you filter that out. And so we have ways in that episode for how you can do that easily.
Exactly. It's very easy to get inundated, but it's also a pretty easy process to make sure that you don't. But the point is get the word out there. Tell everybody. And again, whether you're looking for a copywriter, whether you're looking for another kind of freelancer, we'll default to saying copywriter in this episode just for the ease. But get the word out there, because the more that you get it out there as well, and the more you start sharing it with people in Facebook groups, if you're a member of like an entrepreneur Facebook group or that kind of thing, the more that you get it out there, yes, the higher the chances someone's going to send someone to you, but also the higher chances that copywriters are going to see it and then apply to you, reach out to you and apply to work with you. And the more quality applicants you have, the better. And we'll help in just a second. We'll talk a little bit about how you can quickly tell who might be quality applicants, who might not be. But the more quality applicants you have, the better. You want to have, just with anything else, you want to have options. If you need to get the plumbing redone in your house, you don't want to have only one plumber to choose from. It's maybe it's a great plumber, maybe it's not a great plumber. You don't want to have just one to choose from. You want to have a couple of options. And that's the same thing with freelancers in any industry.
Yeah, especially because they could be booked up. Your first choice could be booked for 5 months, but that doesn't mean that there's not another great option to work with. But so one of the first things that you want to look for is that this freelancer has a portfolio website. You want to have some way to see their body of work. So again, if it's a copywriter, you can see samples of the work that they've done. And the key here too, and the same thing with the designer, you can see samples of design pieces that they've created, developer, et cetera. But the key here with a portfolio, you want to see the work, but you need to have some background as to what that work is and how they strategically thought through the project and delivered the right thing for their client. And so each piece in a copywriter's portfolio, again, any freelancer, should have a small write-up of who the client was, just a brief so you know who they were working with. But then the key piece of this is what was the challenge that they were tasked with solving, and then how did they solve it? What were some of the things that they took into consideration to create this piece that they did for their client? And if they have results, great. Of course, not every copywriter might have results for every single project in their portfolio. That's okay, because the results for one client doesn't mean they can apply those results to your project. And there's no apples to apples there. So kind of a red flag too, if any copywriter is guaranteeing you a certain result, there's really no way for them to do that. So take the results with a grain of salt, if that's included on their website. But the main thing is that you can see that they thought through that specific client and delivered a solution that was specific to that client and delivered on what the goal was for that project.
Exactly. And as you're looking through their portfolio, you're really looking for depth and breadth of experience. You're looking for them to be able to write in different brand voices to the and that brand voice feels like it is that brand. When someone comes onto your brand, starts working with you, they should be able to hit the ground running. Do some research, certainly ask you some questions, but they should understand your voice and by and large be able to write like you almost perfectly right away. There'll be a little bit of back and forth, of course, but they need to be able to have the skills to do that. I want to caution everybody not to make the mistake that I hear people making all the time is they go to a copywriter's website, they read the website, everything around the sample pieces, and they go, oh, I like how this writer writes. I want to work with them. How that writer writes for their own brand is irrelevant to how they will write for your brand. So don't read a copywriter's website and go, I don't know if I like their style. That is their brand's style. That you are looking for a copywriter who's going to be able to adopt your brand style for your pieces. So as you're looking at the portfolio, make sure that you can tell that they're able to switch brand voices between different clients and that they can do different kinds of work. They can do emails, they can do landing pages, they can do all of that kind of thing. And you're going to find that in their portfolio section.
Yeah, I want to underscore that for the depth and breadth, that it's different mediums, because likely if you're hiring a copywriter, you want them to write more than just an email sequence for you. So I think there's this idea, well, I need a copywriter that specializes in email. A good copywriter should be able to write across several different medium and be able to help you with a variety of your projects. Just like a designer should, again, their designs shouldn't all look the same. They should be specific to each client, and they should be able to design both a web page or an email or whatever it is that you need, and not just one thing.
Exactly. Another red flag to watch out for on their portfolio is if everything on there is blog posts. Now, there are really kind of within marketing, there are two kinds of writers. There are copywriters, which is what we're talking about, who does your messaging, your persuasive writing. You're trying to get people to take action. There's another kind of writer that's a content writer. And content writing is designed to educate, to entertain, or to inspire. And those are your blog posts. Those are maybe videos sometimes, but it's your listicles, that kind of thing. But it's a very different kind of writing. Can a copywriter write content? Absolutely. And sometimes you can get a copywriter to write some content for you. But my point is, if you go to a quote unquote copywriter's website and all they have in their portfolio is blog posts, you are not dealing with a professional. You are dealing with a content writer who does not know the difference between copy and content, and you should run. A copywriter certainly can have content on their website. It should probably be in a separate section. This is my copy. These are my copy samples. This is my content work. But if you get to a portfolio site and they show they show blog pieces and say, this is the copy work that I've done. Turn around and run. You are dealing with someone who is not a, I don't even want to say not an expert. What is they're
well, they're just in a different field. They're a content writer, and they're mixing up terms, and they're, not all just because they can write well, and maybe they're a great content writer, but that doesn't mean they can apply. They don't have the knowledge of the copywriting fundamental knowledge to be able to write strong, effective copy. It's not going to perform the way that you want it.
They don't have training and skills and expertise in copywriting. Yeah. And if you want an expert to do the job, make sure you hire an expert.
Yeah. You're not going to hire an electrician to do a plumbing job, basically.
Exactly.
Another thing you want to look for, again, on any freelancer's website is the way that they're speaking on their website should be focused on what they can do for you and your company. You want it to be someone who comes across like a partner that is, as they should be, versus focused on themselves and what they're kind of tooting their own horn. Yes, can they toot their own horn in the sense of like, here's this amazing project I did and here's what it did for my client? Sure. But it should not be focused on, here's me and I have 5 cats and I live in Bora Bora and I do this and I do that. Especially, I think, on the About page in particular, you want to kind of look at the About page being about how they can help you and how they can best partner with you and how they specifically do that versus any other copywriter or, again, any other designer, developer, et cetera. How are they different than the other people that you could hire? Because you do have a choice of folks that you can work with. So what is it going to be like to work with them? Now, if they have fun facts lower on the page, absolutely fine. But you want to make sure the majority of the website is aimed at speaking to you and how they can benefit you.
Yeah, think of it this way. Their website is a marketing project, and the goal of that marketing project should be to talk to their target audience and get their target audience to get in touch with them. And if they haven't done that for their own website, how good are they going to be at thinking strategically for you? So just keep that in mind.
Yeah. And one other place you might want to look beyond their portfolio site are their social media presence. Now, it's not mandatory, I wouldn't say, for them to have a social media presence by any means, as long as they have a portfolio and you have all of that information there. But I think it's very helpful if you go on LinkedIn and find this person, or they do have public Instagram, Facebook page, maybe about their business, to make sure that all of that is professional. I think sometimes, which still shocks me to this day, particularly with copywriters, is and freelancers in general, is ranting about clients and bad interactions that they have with clients. Now, we can all learn, sometimes being on the client side, we don't always provide everything we possibly can for our freelancer. Find that miscommunications happen, things happen, and there can be an education process. But to obviously take to social media channels and vent in an unproductive way, in a way that's not sharing information or helping clients be better clients, you obviously don't want to work with someone who's going to put your brand on blast potentially and call out companies by name, which sounds ridiculous, but it's
Make sure you're working with a professional. Yeah. Exactly. The next step, once you have been to a couple of websites, and again, if someone reaches out to you or you get a referral, great, look at the website before you get in touch with them. That's the first thing that you want to do, and make sure that there's someone that you're interested in. But then maybe when you have maybe 3 or 4 copywriters that you think could be good, get in contact with them, set up some time to talk with them. And here's the thing, copywriters will often call these, freelancers will often call these discovery calls. It's basically just kind of a get to know you, talk about the project. The person that you're talking to should by and large be leading this call. So if you're like, what do I have to get ready? What do you have? Yeah, I mean, obviously you should be able to answer questions about the project that you're going to hire them for. But by and large, the freelancer, the copywriter should be leading the call. They should be asking you questions about the project. They should be wanting to dig into it, asking about your timeline, asking about your goals, asking about all of those different elements. So if you're thinking, oh my gosh, I don't know, certainly it's a good idea to have some to have some questions prepared. What kinds of work have you done like this in the past? What kinds of clients do you like to work with best? When have you found that you've been most successful working with clients? When have you found that you haven't been successful working with clients? Any number of kind of get to know you questions, get to understand you questions. What was the most challenging project you've ever worked on? What was the best project you've ever worked on? All of those kind of questions, just to get a little insight into the way that they work and get a feel for them. But a big part of this too is, yes, number one, you're looking for the right answers to the questions, but you're also looking to see if you feel comfortable with this person, because you're going to work very closely with a copywriter. You're going to have to be willing to give them feedback and accept recommendations from them. You, of course, are driving the project, but they will have recommendations and they will have reasons for that recommendation. You may sometimes have to think, all right, do I accept their recommendation or go with what I thought? You have to have a good relationship. So as you are talking to these copywriters, see if you can get a sense for how it would be to work with them and whether you'd be comfortable working with them.
Yeah. And quite frankly, if you are reaching out to them, or even if they're reaching out to you, they'll have time before this call. So they should come to this call with some idea of what your business is, what it is that you do, who it is that you serve. And they might have questions and should have questions for you about that and digging into who your customer is so that they have an understanding. But they might also, the good ones should come with some sort of idea for your business to say, hey, I've taken a look at your website and I have some thoughts about this. Have you thought about this? They're not going to give you the how. That's what you're going to hire them to do. But absolutely, the kind of the best freelancers are going to come with at least some idea. Obviously, they can't know the ins and outs of your business based on what research, the little research that they've done, and you have knowledge that they can't possibly have. But again, they should be coming to the table prepared with a baseline understanding, and to have put some time in to say, hey, I have some ideas of how we can already partner to make a difference.
Exactly. Now, as a client, it is very likely that when you're thinking like, oh, questions to ask them, well, I know my first question, probably your first question is going to be, how much is this going to cost me? And I get that. I absolutely understand it, because that is first and foremost in your mind. Am I getting a quality copywriter, and how much is this going to cost me? However, if you ask a copywriter, really kind of any freelancer, if you ask them that as your first question, they're not going to be able to answer it. And quite frankly,
if they
shouldn't.
do, that's a red flag. Yeah,
exactly. They shouldn't be able to answer it, because every client is different and every project is different. They need to talk to you first to get the full understanding of the scope of the project or projects. They need to know what your timeline is. They need to know who they're going to be interacting with. They need to know what the project is, what your business is, all of these elements before they can think, before they can run their numbers and figure out how much to charge you. That is how it should be. If you get someone on the call who's like, well, yeah, I do this, or I do this
for a website. I charge this much for a website. It's
exactly.
I've charged everything from $1,000 for a very small website to $10,000 for many page websites. So no website is necessarily the same.
Yes.
Not even every homepage within a website is the same cost, because some homepages can be really long and need and require lots of different information, and some can be really, really simple. And so there's just
exactly.
there's a range.
Yeah. So
and even a range might not be accurate.
Yeah. Expect that your copywriter your freelancer is going to need to get this information from you, then get off the call, run their numbers, and send through their quote to you. Do not expect to get a price on that call. You're going to get a hurried quote if they did give it to you on the call. It's also just, nobody wants to have to figure out their numbers when they've just had a conversation with someone. You will both prefer it, believe me, to get an email from that copywriter. And usually it's within 24, no more than 48 hours. Usually sometimes it's even by the end of the day, depending on when you had the call. But you will get that information. Now, here's again, you should talk to, a couple of different copywriters, 2, 3, 4. You can let them know, say, look, I'm looking to make sure that I'm working with the right person. So I do just want to let you know that I am talking with other copywriters, not for any other reason except just to be transparent. What you can also say to them too is, I'm looking forward to getting your quote. What I would like to do at that point is, the copywriters that I'm interested in moving forward with, I'd like to do a copy test. And you can do this really with any kind of freelancer. But a copy test is where you put together, essentially it is what it sounds like. It's kind of testing their skills, or maybe not even testing, assessing their skills and seeing how well they're able to translate your brand voice into a small project for you. This shouldn't be, okay, you're going to write a full email for me. No, we're not looking for a project that's going to take an hour or two. We're looking for something that's going to take probably a maximum half hour. Yeah. Maybe show notes for a podcast episode, or give you some headline options for a page, or something along those lines. A short project, no more than a half hour.
And one of the last things to consider when it comes to a test of some kind is that this should be paid. So obviously, if you have a project in mind and this work could be work that you use, even better. It doesn't have to be work that you use. It could be something, a project you've done in the past and you want to see what they would have done with that project. But absolutely compensate them for their time. It starts the relationship off on the right foot. And just in today's day and age, their time is valuable. They're doing this work.
Exactly. And you can just pay them through PayPal. And again, this is a half hour of each person's time. You want it to be a small, reasonable project. It will give you a sense of their writing. You want to see if they can get your brand voice down. You want to see if they understand what you're trying to do. And you can get a sense for that in a small project. But yeah, again, it used to be that some companies would do copy tests without paying. I feel like that has gone.
Yeah.
It's because it doesn't end up being that much. And it's better to pay and make sure that you're getting a great writer than to try to get free stuff that it would be cruddy to use anyway. So point is, do a copy test.
Good for your reputation too as a business. And
yes.
And if you're going to do a paid, if you're going to ignore that advice and do an unpaid, then it better be copy that you don't end up using.
Otherwise, you've just gotten free work, and that's bad.
Yeah,
exactly. So when you get the copy test back, ask them to explain it to you as well. Quite frankly, a good copywriter should be part of it. They should explain why they've made the choices that they've made. But you want to understand the thinking. This is getting back to what we were talking about on the portfolio side. You want to understand the thinking behind what they did, the choices that they made. Because I will tell you, as a copywriter, with a background as a copywriter, not just a business owner, every word that a copywriter writes was a deliberate choice. So should be a deliberate choice. The good copywriter should be a deliberate choice. So they should be able to explain to you why they made the choices that they make. And even if you're like, oh no, maybe that's not a direction I would take in here. But if you understand the reasoning and you can say, well, we wouldn't do that for this reason. They go, oh, okay, well, in that case, then I would have done this. That's the kind of relationship you're looking for. That's the kind of copywriting mind that you are looking for.
One more thing to think about is if a copywriter has some sort of certification on their website, their portfolio is what's going to demonstrate to you whether or not they know how to write effective copy. And that, again, that write-up of each portfolio piece to understand if they're thinking about it strategically and going about the project in the right way, and not just writing copy to write copy, but that they're doing it with intention toward the goal of each project and each client and the tone of voice and all of those sorts of elements that go into this. And so a certification, or if you're just thinking, oh, but they have no certification, great. It does. All a certification proves is that someone purchased a course. It does not prove that they've done the work, it
doesn't even prove that they learned anything.
Right. That they know anything about anything. You have no idea if they know features versus benefits. You don't know if they know what a call to action is. All you know is that they put an icon on their site or put it in their LinkedIn profile and
exactly. All you know is that at some point they pulled out a credit card to purchase something that had a quote unquote certificate. Yeah. It's big eye roll to any kind of copywriting certificate. The proof is in the pudding. If they can write great copy and that's on their portfolio site, and then you have a great conversation with them and you like everything they said and they sent through the quote and you go, all right, I can work with that. And then they did a copy test and you like what they did with the copy test, this could very well be your copywriter.
The one caveat I do want to say is for Circuit Sales System folks, the business owners in the program know that we do have Circuit Sales System copywriters trained in and certified in the CSS method. And so those copywriters have gone through the course, they have taken an exam, and they know the principles of the CSS program. So they know how to help you with spark points. They know how to help you with your light bulb video. But that's more, they know the strategy behind CSS, and they know how to apply the copywriting principles to the CSS method. And so that is the one distinction I want to make between a copywriting certification and then our CSS copywriters.
Exactly. That is an additional specialization, not a certificate for buying a copywriting course. And I say that we have one of our other brands is a copywriting course, and we don't offer certificates for that reason. People ask us and you say no, because it's meaningless. And in fact, some of our copywriters would get laughed out of a creative director's office if they walked in there and said, here's my certificate. No, because they're meaningless. So you have put out the word, you've gotten copywriters, you've looked at their websites, you've chosen ones to talk to, you've gone on discovery calls with them, you've gotten the quote a day or so later, you've narrowed it down to which quotes could work with your budget, you've gotten your copy test back, you've evaluated the copy test, and at this point, this is the time to choose your copywriter. Now, on the discovery call, you should have talked about the timeline as well to make sure that this copywriter could work with you. But the order in which I would do things is reach out to the copywriter you want to work with first. Don't tell the other 2 or 3 that you don't want to work with them, and then go to the copywriter you do want to work with, because what if another client came up and swooped in the meantime? With any freelancer, it's first come, first serve basis. And especially if you've taken some time and you're kind of thinking things through, and I'm not saying you should hurry through the process, be reasonable, certainly, but it might take a couple of days to a week to get all the copy tests back and for you to evaluate them. There is always the chance that another client could swoop in and hire them right away. It is first come, first serve. So don't tell the other ones before you tell the one that you want to work with. Talk to the one that you want to work with. Make sure that they are good to go. Make sure that they are set for that timeline, that all of that works and they're ready to get started, and then set up that first kickoff call for the project. Once you are solid on that, then reach out to the other copywriters. Don't ghost them. Don't be that person.
Yeah. And even when you reach out to those other copywriters, again, not ghosting them, but you don't have to, unless you really don't, the style didn't match, the copy test came back poorly. Maybe you actually liked a couple of these copywriters. And so you can tell them that of like, hey, actually your copy test was great. I move forward with this other person, or however you want to phrase it. But you can always leave the door open and say, hey, is it okay if I reach out to you in the future? I might have overflow work or whatever it is, so that you can keep that relationship there. Now, if they didn't nail the copy test, or there was reason why you didn't want to move forward with them, give them that feedback. Again, they might ask for it and be proactive, but you can also be proactive with them and make sure that they get some valuable information out of this for how they can improve for future clients that they may work with.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to do that, but it is the nice thing to do. It's you're only helping them out, and many people really appreciate that. So you've got your copywriter that you're going to work with lined up. You've let your other copywriters know, thank you so much. This was really valuable. And maybe you'll reach out to them in the future if you did like them. But thank you, basically. You're ready to get started. You have hired your copywriter. So you're going to schedule your kickoff call. And that is when your copywriter is going to go through all of the elements of the project with you. And they're going to dig in. They're going to learn everything that they possibly can about your business, about you, about your target audience's wants and needs, and about the program, about whatever elements of this. It's going to be a lot. And as much as possible, if you have any previous pieces that you've done before that you really liked, if you're like, oh, we don't use this landing page anymore, but I really liked the messaging on here, or I really liked the tone on this, or hey, check out this page, I really like this, or we sent this email and our audience really responded to it. Anything that you can share with them that is an example of good is great. Even if you have an example of some stuff that is not great. If you at some point, maybe you let your cousin's brother's girlfriend write copy for you and it was terrible. Maybe you can share that and say, here's another piece that did not work. Like, I wouldn't say something like this. I wouldn't say something like this.
And here's
the more
why.
exactly. The more specific you can be, the more input you can give them, the better. And then also too, in this call, you guys are going to get really, really solid on this project and what you're trying to get out of the project, what all of the elements are of the project, and don't hold back. If you have this, it's going to take at least an hour. If it's a big project, it might take a couple of hours. Maybe you want to split it into a couple of days. That's fine, certainly, but you want to get all of this information out there, because the more clear you are at the beginning, and the more you and your copywriter, or again, whatever freelancer you work with, this holds true for everybody, but the clearer you are at the beginning about this project and about the desired outcome and all of the elements of it, the smoother it is going to be. You may even find that you don't need to do more than one revision. There may be some elements of it that you don't need to do any revisions of the project, because you guys both got so very clear at the beginning. So don't limit the time. Don't try to
fast tracking the project will work if you put in the time at the beginning. I think that's
exactly.
when you try to move too fast at the beginning, then it takes that much longer because you have more runs of revisions and an unhappy freelancer who didn't charge enough.
Yes, yes, exactly. And you will be an unhappy business owner because you're not getting the great work that you were hoping for. The good news is, though, when you follow this process, it is very, very likely that you're going to end up with work that you are thrilled with. And then also, too, you very likely have a copywriting partner that you can reach out to for an indefinite period of time in the future. Whenever you have a new project coming up, whenever you have something new to launch or to do, or anything like that, you have someone that you can reach out to. And quite frankly, too, that good partner should come back to you with ideas every once in a while. Like, hey, I saw so-and-so do this. If we did that for you, we could, anyway, just things to kind of keep an eye out for. Now, there's one thing that I want to mention. If you would like kind of a cheat sheet of this, of kind of how to hire a copywriter, yes, look at that. And also just kind of copywriting principles to begin with. I wrote a book called Copywriting Strategies. It's my name at the bottom there, Nicki. And you'll see by and large, it's about writing copy, but you should understand that anyway. But at the end, we talk about how to hire a copywriter. So you've got kind of a cheat sheet for that. Again, no pressure. You just got this whole episode on it. But if you want, I think it has both Kindle and print copies.
And we'll link to it in the description, in the show notes. So
exactly. So there you have it. As we said before, messaging is incredibly crucial to your business. And this process is a way to help ensure, nothing is perfect, of course, but to help ensure that you end up with a copywriter that can make your copy and your messaging as excellent as possible. And again, this whole process is also applicable to any other kind of freelancer you need to work with, a developer, a designer, a Pinterest ads manager, any of those, Meta ads manager. I don't know why it was default to Pinterest, but any kind of freelancer, you can use the vast majority of this process to make sure that you are hiring the right resource for your team. So with that, we will catch you guys in the next episode. Bye, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Do you want to learn how to sell and scale your offer on autopilot every single day without the chaos of live launching or the low conversions of Evergreen? Who doesn't, right? Get our free on-demand video training at circuitsalessystem.com/free. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to this channel to make sure you never miss a video. We'll catch you next time.